lights are out and you stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
From Sonoma Raceway, the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series is ready for another round of road racing, and this time we crank up the heat in California's wine country. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sonoma, California. 2 weeks ago at Charlotte, Eugenio Alonso notched his win number 3 in the 2024 campaign and fought his way into second position in our point standings. The pride of Norman, Oklahoma, Brandon Minto still holds a slim lead in the standings over top of Alonso, and Mikey Mack out of Cape May, New Jersey, has slid his way into third, less than 40 points away from the lead. Things are heating up as the season gets into the summer stretch, with a series of tracks that are sure to keep the competition close and the excitement meter pegged to incredible. We're preparing to see who can be the road course whisperer tonight when the checkered flag flies over Napa Valley. This kind of racing takes a lot of patience and discipline, unlike any other on our circuit. I'm Dave Regal here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, and as always, I'm thrilled to be with you every step of the way. From the green flag to the checkered flag, right here on Sim Racing Media. And folks, Glad to have all of you in with us tonight as qualifying is underway. It's a busy night here in Sonoma. Of course, many drivers on the track to try to qualify tonight. Some of them will not make it, as we have now had more drivers log into the session than there is room for on pit road, according to league rules. So that's going to be an interesting turnout there. During practice, this was interesting. Brandon Minto, of course, our points leader, came in here and laid down a 1 minute 17 second .965 lap. Now, what makes that exciting, at least in my opinion, is that last night in the Cup Series, we had lap times that were now, at that point, sub 1 minute 13 after one of our neighbors from down under took the checkered flag home there. I mean, last night was an absolute piece of artwork, and I have not seen anybody drive like that here in this league for a very long time. And when the checkered flag finally came out last night, the victor, of course, and I just lost the entire thing there. The victor, of course, from Australia was just incredible all night long. And, you know, we're going to see some more of that tonight. There's a couple of drivers here who have a pretty good handle on the way this is supposed to work. And, you know, road courses, as I mentioned, are a lot different compared to what we see in other places on any of our tracks, really. Of course, this road course itself has some ups, some downs, some twists, some turns, and it's incredible to just watch, you know, the sheer change that the track is going to go through, as well as the changes that the drivers are going to have to make as they try to work their way around here. Of course, we're just coming off the BetMGM 300 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, where Eugenio Alonso, as I had mentioned, came home the victor. That's win number 3, but he still is just 10 points shy of our points leader, Brandon Minto. In fact, let's take a quick peek here at those point standings. As we pull those up here in the middle of your screen, Brandon Minto with 435 points. Eugenio Alonso, he comes into the night with 425. And I mean, you know, a lot of the movement that we've seen from these drivers, especially in our point standings, is starting to get a little bit dicey. Our big mover last week was Charles Eaton, who climbed up out of the doldrums into a 57th position. I know that that seems like a lot, but there are a lot of drivers who have now stopped being regulars here in the Xfinity series, including Joe Stafford, Anthony Paggio, Jeremiah Mullins, of course, my work wife on a Sunday night, Matt Metler, and Matthew Gaskins as well, all dropping down 6 positions after not taking a start. So a lot of that is where Charles Eaton gained some of that positioning here in our standings. And then, of course, Bennett Allen hops up 9 positions and now runs himself right there in 18th position. We're going to start to see him quietly creep through the standings. He's got some really consistent nights ahead of him. And quite frankly, I think Bennett Allen is going to be in that top 10 in a matter of weeks instead of, you know, months. Zach Osborne stays in 15th position. John Buwalda in 16th. Now, you know, of course, if the season ended today, if the regular season ended today, Chris Claude would be just barely hanging on. But Bobby Blazer, with a win and being in the top 30, would knock him out. So there's a lot of bubble action here. I mean, Ethan Eckert's got a win on the season. He's back in 34th position. You know, plus Bennett Allen, Bobby Blazer, and Brockton Packard as well. Derek Heitman picked up a W. So there's a lot of these drivers here who are buried back in the points standings. They need to make up some ground. Of course, you have to be in that top 30 to qualify for the playoffs. So Brandon Minto still our points leader, and it's just going to get better from here. I know a lot of these drivers are, you know, waiting with bated breath as we get ready to rock and roll. About 1 minute and 20 seconds left in qualifying. We see Ethan Ball out here in the 96 as we pull up his driver info from Princeton, West Virginia. Qualified 24th on the first lap. He's working his way through the S's now, and this is kind of a tricky situation. He's now coming down here toward that first curb, and he's going to make the first turn here at 7 just before going into the S's as he works his way through, and now we can see him working his way toward the S's. In fact, let's see if we can go up here to the chopper cam, because I feel like the chopper cam probably gives us the best view of what it's like for some of these drivers to have to work through here. We can see the skid marks on the racetrack you know, as drivers were obviously wheel slipping against these curbs and getting their way down here toward that hairpin. And, oh, there goes Ethan Ball off the line and across the racetrack, bangs himself into, wow. Well, that'll be the end of the 96. He's going to have to roll off 24th. Alexander Gangler seems to be taking pictures of himself awkwardly buried into the crowd. So thanks, Gangler. Oh, there he goes. He's going to tow and get his way back out of there. But qualifying now complete as the Big Rock, Illinois driver has to disappear from the racetrack. That'll put a couple of these drivers in interesting positions. We do want to try to get a hold of Brandon Minto in just a moment here. Hey, Brandon, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Man, it's going good for me up here, but now here's my question. You come in here as the points leader tonight, and by literally the slimmest of margins. What are you thinking about, and what's going to be the strategy here as you were just fastest during practice, and now we look forward to seeing you roll off tonight?
Big thing's keeping the rear tires on the car. I know I've been burning through them pretty quick through that practice session. My time fell off a little bit, so just losing grip throughout the run, trying to maybe do a little short shifts to keep the wheel spin down, and just try not to go full pedal to the metal, just being easy on the gas pedal. So hopefully I can save those tires for the long run.
Yeah, now it looks like you're going to be rolling off P2 on the front row alongside Trent Curtis. You were only 2/10 of a second off from him. Earlier, you had fast time down pat during practice. Is this going to be more of a consistency thing to avoid him, or, you know, are we just going to go for the lead and just hope to start logging laps early?
We'll just see how the restart goes. I know going through the S's is kind of tough on iRacing. You see the pros do it, but there's a reason they're getting paid to race, and then that's why we pay to race. So it just kind of depends on how the restart goes through turn one. If I can get ahead of them, then I'll probably try to stick it in and keep the lead. But if we're door to door, then I may try to let him go and just filter in and just stay single file through the first set of S's through 3A and 3B until maybe getting down to the back stretch, and then maybe try to make a pass there. But I'm fine just riding in line. It'll help me try to keep the tires underneath me. But we'll just see how everything goes.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, good luck tonight. It looks like you're the only driver in the Furta stable tonight, so it's going to be kind of quiet for you. You're always welcome to hang out and listen to us here on Sim Racing Media. We thank you for your time, and good luck.
Thanks, Dave.
That was the voice of Brandon Minto out of Norman, Oklahoma, your points leader tonight. We're going to take a quick peek here at the rest of our qualifying results as we get that out of the way. Trent Curtis going to be sitting on the pole with Brandon Minto to his outside. Tane Hodison and Gabriel Lafreniere in row 4, in row 2. A couple of names that we don't usually see here in our ranks. Of course, Sam Boland, he's going to be starting on row 4. Brockton Packard in row 6. And then there's some names that we didn't expect to see this high up. I mean, Zach Osborne and Daniel Moynihan in row 9. You know, Brad Gunn, Zach Vaughn in 22nd and 23rd. Andrew Deemer back in 25th. Casey Bristow making his debut racing appearance in row number 13. Eugenio Alonso, who won 2 weeks ago at Charlotte. He's going to be starting way back in row 14 in 28th position. Mike McConville also in the top 3 there of our points. He's going to be starting way back there in 29th. So a lot of talent kind of buried back in the field, but we'll get a chance to see all of them in just a few moments as we get ready to go racing. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome everybody in tonight as we get ready to rock and roll. We thank you for your time. And when we come back, it will be Green Flag Racing from Sonoma.
Racing isn't
Care.
easy. But
It has motivated
experiencing
us from day
is.
one.
iRacing
It's in the
puts you
meals we
driver's
make,
seat with the industry's leading
hugs we
sim
give,
racing game.
and the miles we've
Drive on
traveled.
laser scan replicas of the greatest
We
racing
care for
circuits
families.
from around the world.
So they can care for theirs.
Go head to head against other drivers
From our
chosen
staff
by
and
skill-based
volunteers who
matchmaking
provide it
to
every
ensure
day,
competitive
to our
racing
donors
at
and
every
partners who
level.
make it all possible,
Compete across all your favorite series.
to the families who've made lifelong
in officially
connections.
licensed cars,
Together,
engineered to
we've
deliver the
created
most
a
accurate
global
driving
community
experience
of care.
possible.
One that provides emotional, mental, and financial support for families and their children.
Join a race
And
or
all
host your
this
own with
care
players from
has
across
turned
the globe.
dogs into
Race
best
against
friends.
the computer or in a
Long
league with
nights
friends.
into brighter days.
Feel
Moments
the thrill
into
behind the
milestones.
wheel.
Strangers into family.
Visit
We've built a
iRacing.com.
lot at RMHC. More smiles, more hope, more care. And we plan to build even more. Join us as we celebrate 50 years of RMHC.
Welcome back to Sonoma Raceway, where we're about to be underway as the warm-up session has now completed. Almost perfect production timing as all of the drivers have been recalled to pit road, and now we wait for them to hop into their racing machines. Trent Curtis, Tane Hodison, all of these drivers getting ready to slide in. As we get ready to rock and roll, Brandon Minto going to sit on the pole position. He'll be joined in the front row by Brandon Minto. Tane Hodison and Gabriel Lafreniere, one of our neighbors from the north from St. Jude, they're going to be in row 2. Dennis Mickelson and Sylvain Jolie going to be in row 3 with Sam Bolin and Anthony Savignano in row 4. Row 5 and rounding out the starting top 10 going to be Michael Witt and Kavaja Holt. Brockton Packard and Ron Fitting going to be in row number 6 with John Bawalda. We're trying to get a little bit better of a look here. And Chad Sanner in row 7. Aaron Mack and Richard Pruitt in row number 8. And row 9 featuring Zach Osborne out of Claremont and Daniel Moynihan out of Boston, Massachusetts. Claude Ferland and Will Young going to be in row number 9 with Brad Gunn and Logan Giesbrecht, of course, who had a pretty strong night last night, going to be running in row number 10. Ethan Ball has now dropped to pit road. Oh, this is going to shuffle things up for a little while. Zachary Vaughn going to be starting in 22nd with Casey Bristow still not getting in the car. He's going to have to start from pit road. Mike McConville going to be in row 12 alongside of Dan Morgan in the 72. Nick Hansen and John Wilco in row 13. Row 14 is going to house Steve Herring and Mr. 305 Randall Watkins out of Miami, Florida. Chris Custer and Keith Black going to be starting 29th and 30th with Tony Burt, my brother from another mother down there in Hedgesville, West Virginia, alongside of our winner from 2 weeks ago, Eugenio Alonso in the 26 out of Buenos Aires. So 32 drivers going to take the green flag tonight from the field itself. A couple of drivers going to be starting from down there on pit road for reasons nobody's quite sure of, as the iRacing.com pace car gets everybody gathered behind them coming through the S's. .79 laps, the scheduled distance tonight, as the iRacing.com pace car leads us on the exit of the S's. Trent Curtis with control of the field as we come down and in here to the hairpin turn. The iRacing.com pace car has just gotten out of the way. So that means as we come through the hairpin turn, Trent Curtis going to have control of the field. The only thing that's left to do is it's time to wipe the visor and adjust the 5-point harness. Grandma, grab some Pinot Grigio and call a friend. Race fans, it's show time! .79 laps the scheduled distance, and Trent Curtis in the Balmerito Cadillac 13 is already out here to a decent lead, about 3/4 of a second ahead of Tane Hodison. John Bawalda registering as having gone off track already. That's going to be something that we see pretty common tonight as we work our way here through Sonoma Raceway. Of course, in those 79 laps, we've got some stage breaks for you. Stage 1 going to end at the conclusion of lap number 20. Stage 2 going to end at the conclusion of lap number 45, and drivers will have 5 sets of tires tonight. Now, last night, our race winner wound up going the total distance on 1 set of tires. That's not going to be the case here in the Xfinity Series. After 110 laps last night, you would have thought that his tires were liquefied, but unfortunately for everybody else, they were not, and still plenty of grip there as the checkered flag waved. Trent Curtis now coming back down toward the hairpin turn as we get set up for it. Everybody nice and kind of spread apart right now for the time being as we see Curtis rolling out of the hairpin and back toward the start-finish line. He makes that last turn, and he will get credit for leading lap number 1. Taking a peek here, Kavaja Holt in the 00, and now Brandon Minto already down 2 positions here as he follows just behind the 06 of Gabriel Lafreniere. Of course, Gabriel being scored tonight as the 16, so obviously a little bit of a number issue there with the paint scheme. As we go on board here with Brandon Minto out of Norman, Oklahoma, we can see that little bit of a distance, it says 4/10 of a second on your screen, but that 4/10 of a second is quite a big gap when you're down here on the racetrack. As we ride along with Brandon Minto from Norman, Oklahoma, it looks like he's starting to close in here, but still not doing enough here to get right up to the rear bumper of Gabriel Lafreniere. Dennis Mickelson following Minto now by about 4/10 of a second. Minto losing ground quickly on Gabriel as they come down here into the hairpin once again. I feel like every time we see something, a little bit of a tire lock up there from Tane Hodison in the 93, but it just seems like this is going to be where we see a lot of these drivers make their money tonight, right there on the exit of the hairpin, and we'll take a peek at that in just a few moments, I'm sure. But those last couple of tires that are there as basically markers for these drivers, they were catching everybody by surprise, and everybody almost got themselves hooked into it. We take a peek back here to Trent Curtis, and for reasons I'm not quite sure of, the cameras don't want to go up there. There he goes. Trent Curtis just laid down fastest lap of the race at 17.52 seconds. Now let's take a look here at everybody else's fast time. Right now, fast time for Trent Curtis, 1:17.52. Hodison at 1:18.21. That's the next driver in line, and it only gets worse from there. I'm sure that, with times like this, on the racetrack, we're going to see some of these really start to expand as we work through tonight. John Bawalda registering the first driver to be off track. We're going to take a look here. This was right at the beginning of the race, as it looks like Moynihan bit some wall coming across the start-finish line. Everybody checked up in front of Bawalda. He went to take it 3 wide and couldn't hold it on the racetrack, so he was quickly able to get back into line, but obviously pretty dangerous spot there for Bawalda as he just got railed by everybody in line. Whoa! And that was ugly in and of itself. It's going to be a busy night here for many of our camera operators at Sim Racing Media, as Aaron Mack was the driver here in the 31 who gets himself sideways. And Aaron Mack just gets in there too hot, locks up that front right, sends himself a spin, and nearly collects. Oh, there goes Young. And Chris Custer narrowly, scooting off past him. Now we see Logan Giesbrecht, one of the other drivers that was affected by this. Now, Giesbrecht here in the 84, he saw this happening just in front of him, and from his perspective, he's got to go into, save my butt kind of mode. He gets into the grass, barely looks, and just throws it back onto the racetrack. He manages to keep it away from everybody else. So a busy night so far for some of these drivers as far as, awareness is. We're going to take a peek here at Chad Sanner. At this point, we're just kind of reviewing a little bit of what has happened over the last 5 laps. Sander here in the 94 comes through the first, through that front stretch, locks up the front right tire in turn 1 and just, noses here against the 81. We'll see if we can maybe get this a little bit closer here. And here comes Sander up the hill in that blue and white Napa Chevrolet. Just bites the wall. And there he goes. Daniel Moynihan in the same situation here. He was all by his lonesome, and again, locking up that front tire, or in this case, just getting yourself off track a little bit, is enough to really throw off your rhythm. Of course, Moynihan usually running on that Duncan Midnight, as we've seen. And again, now here we see Mike McConville in the 1 machine. There he is, coming into the hairpin. He sees the 24 to the outside, and literally the exact tires that I was talking about is where this happened. Could not be any worse for McConville, as we're going to take a look here. It's almost like I just kind of sniffed that one out after watching last night's race for so long alongside of Matt Metler. And here he comes, another perspective, and just gets nosed out of the way by the 41. That's Will Young. And believe me, Will Young is not that kind of a driver. He's not usually the kind of person who gets involved in these kind of dumb things. We'll take another look at it from Will Young's perspective. And here comes Will. We can see McConville maybe taking just a little bit too much of the inside of that curb. And there they go into one another. And that'll certainly rough up the front end of the 1 car. Now that many of these drivers have gotten, enough, I would say enough real estate around them, we shouldn't see too many more incidents like that. And I mean, Trent Curtis out here all by his lonesome as we go on board with Curtis. Let's ride this lap out with him. Now we can see that as he climbs the hill, there's a little bit of a dip here that increases your speed. So in one fashion, you're trying to stay off the brake and try to use the hill to your advantage for that momentum. Then all of a sudden you are on a crazy downhill slope with nothing but a 90-degree turn in front of you. You're going to wind up hitting this V here, and it's almost a hairpin. It's kind of like a safety pin as the entry to the S's. Now, the S's you can kind of take like a country road. They kind of weave back and forth, maybe a little dip here, a little rise there. So for those of us that drove the backcountry roads growing up, the S's, at least in my opinion as a driver, were always pretty cool to get through. It just made me feel comfortable for some reason. And as Curtis now guns it here back down toward the hairpin, he's going to see Tony Burt just in front of him. Now he gets a little tight here behind Burt, takes that hairpin a little bit wider than most, but here we are on lap number 7, and Trent Curtis has led all 7. Tony Burt about to be put a lap down as, of course, we see his teammate John Bawalda already down a lap, and there is Tony getting passed by Trent Curtis. And Trent Curtis just looks in the rearview mirror and gives him a little wave and says, "I'm out of here. I got stuff to go do." And the interesting thing is, as we're going to get a chance to look at here, Trent Curtis is not fighting this car at all. I mean, Clarence Center, New York must be a road course whisperer's, dream. I mean, up toward Watkins Glen. And, we don't see him really wheeling this thing too hard. He's just kind of hanging on to it like he's driving the kids home from church on a Sunday. There he was passing Randall Watkins. And again, Trent Curtis just looks very comfortable behind the wheel of his number 13 Chevrolet Camaro. Gabriel Lafreniere running P2 right now. He's got a rearview mirror full of Tane Hodison, but Hodison not even ready to battle yet as they have to get around Tony Burt here. Tony Burt on the entry gets himself right up against the inside of the hairpin. That's what got Mike McConville bit in the butt, but somehow Tony Burt just held on to it just so. Randall Watkins now down a lap as Trent Curtis passes Casey Briscoe at the same time. Now, the interesting thing about Trent Curtis in this league is the amount of time that he's spent behind the wheel. Let's just take a little look here. Trent Curtis has 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, just 114 points. And, I mean, he's only got a couple of starts. I mean, he's way back here in 36th position. If he can pull off the win tonight, all of a sudden he's going to make himself playoff eligible, being able to jump so many of these drivers that have been ahead of him all season long. So we see this, you know, kind of being a popular thing here. As I'm going to look down here and see if I can find Curtis in our line and see which one of these. Here we go. Trent Curtis with only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starts. 5. So, you know, that's 8 races that he didn't make. That's kind of impressive when you consider in those 5 starts, 2 of them were top 10s and top 5s. Casey Briscoe registering as having crashed. Let's take a look here and see what happened. Colonial Williamsburg, Virginia native Casey Briscoe just gets real slow out here. So it doesn't actually crash, but just basically gets out of the way as Briscoe running in 27th position right now. And, you know, believe me, when you're running that deep in the field, you don't want to wind up being the person who makes the mistake and wrecks somebody else's day who's doing better than you, especially if you know that this isn't the kind of racetrack that you're good at, period. You know, there are more nights than not where you're just trying to log your laps, get through the race, score those points, and get the hell out of Dodge, that's for sure. As Daniel Moynihan chases way back there in 11th position, Sam Bolin in the number 67. He's currently running in 9th position right now. And Sam Bolin, another one of these drivers that we don't see too much often. But, I mean, here he is in that iRacing iFlag. Number 67, of course, that out of the Jackdown Motorsports stable. We can tell that by just the artwork here on the machine. As Sam Bolin chases down Kavaja Holt in the 00. And, you know, Kavaja, he's had an interesting year. And Kavaja has been one of the drivers that we've seen over the years here in this series that has really improved year after year after year. Now, last week, as I'm trying to pull up, I just don't have enough screens. I'll have to get more. Last week, Kavaja Holt wound up there we go, back in 34th position, after starting in 9th. He fights every week, left and right, you know, and just somehow manages to get kind of screwed in what happens here. And Kavaja is just one of the drivers that I really hope for week after week. As we look here at his stats now, Kavaja runs in 37th right now with just a top 10 to his name, but he's got a chance here tonight if he can log the laps the right way and get through this piece. Of course, Kavaja has, at least to my knowledge, has been here since, you know, 2020, 2021, as that was my first season here with the Xfinity Series. As he gets a little bit of wheel slip, that's not going to be good for tire wear here on the old 00 Mobile One machine. As we take a quick peek over here at the YouTube.com live chat, Naughty XLX Wolf Gaming says, just switched my car paint. Please update. Yep, I refresh trading paints continually. Richard Putnam saying, let's see if Minto knows how to turn right. Well, everybody kind of knows how to turn right. And apparently it says the broadcast has no sound, but I'm going to be checking that because that's been quite a while. Gonna be honest, Air Maverick, I don't see a problem with the sound, so perhaps that was your device, not mine. But Austin Wilson saying, not many people know this, but Minto is also a beautiful singer. You know what? I may have to ask him to sing a couple of bars now. I know he can sing in a bar, that's for sure, as he's usually, partnered up here with Uncle Scott tipping back the Miller Lights. So if Brandon Minto is a beautiful singer, we will hear from it on our air, that's for sure, before the end of the season. Big Mac telling us that Trent's a part-timer. He can't do full-time. Well, every time he shows up, he does something excited. But, here's the thing. It's all about work, and believe me, folks, 3 nights a week for some of these drivers in this series, with Cup, Xfinity, and trucks, that's a big commitment for anybody, and, you can't hate on somebody for trying to put food on the table, that's for sure. As we take a quick peek here at what just happened with Ethan Ball. Ethan Ball coming through the S's. I'm betting that he's getting himself a little wild here. Ethan Ball got tight as a drum and just stepped out of line here in the S's on his way down toward the hairpin. Trent Curtis, your race leader, still to this point, 14 laps in the books. We're working our way toward the conclusion of lap number 20. Of course, we're about 6 laps away from that this time by. Gabriel Lafreniere runs in P2 from St. Jude. Brandon Minto out of Norman, Oklahoma, running in third. Dennis Mickelson from, it says he's a Rhinelander. I'm wondering if it's that Rhineland, like the Rhineland, or not, but rounding out your top 5 is Tane Hodison out of Brunswick, Maine. I'm fairly certain, and we're going to check this real quick. I'm not completely sure, but I'm curious about Brunswick, Maine, and we've got the time tonight. Well, I was right about one thing. The Joshua Chamberlain house, of course, the Fighting Maine soldiers at the Battle of Gettysburg, so I knew that was there. And apparently Amtrak's Downeaster train service also terminates from Brunswick's Main Street station. But I'm looking to see, and maybe I'm just being hopeful here. And it turns out I was completely wrong. So that's fine, too. I was hoping that Brunswick, Maine was also home of Brunswick Bowling, but it is not. Not sure why that would even cross through my head, but there it is. Anthony Savignano, as we go through the rest of our standings here out of Erie, Colorado, runs in P6. Folks, you're going to have to bear with me here. There's going to be some dead air because I can only do so much, and I'm only one voice in the broadcast booth. Sylvain Joly from Saint-Eustache, Quebec. He runs in 7th position with Kavaja Holt, as we just mentioned, from Waynesboro, running in 8th position. Brockton Packard has now fought his way up here from Zafrillis, Florida, in the 9th position after qualifying 11th. And Sam Bolin rounds out your top 10. Of course, other drivers of note, Eugenio Alonso, our points leader, runs in 11th position out of Buenos Aires. And Mikey Mack, out of Cape May, New Jersey, after getting damaged way earlier in this race, now runs in 34th. So he's just out here to run some laps for, basically points and not have himself get completely obliterated, as it looks like Keith Black and Tony Burt may have gotten tied up here. Let's see what happened with Keith Black. And here he go. Oh, yeah. Oh, good Lord. You know what? If I was Ron Fitting, I would not be a happy camper. In fact, I'm looking for Fitting here on the racetrack. Let's just ride along with him. Bang! I mean, lifted the whole rear end of Keith Black up in the air. And boom goes the proverbial dynamite. Now we're going to see this out of Keith Black's rear from Olaf, Kansas. Now here's where Keith is going to get himself tied up into the wall and just launches after being hit by Ron Fitting. "17 laps in the books. Trent Curtis, your race leader. He's followed by Gabriel Lafreniere. Some other drivers here to be mentioned. Chad Sanner in the 94. Now, we talk about Chad an awful lot here, it seems, in these races. And quite frankly, he deserves every bit of it that he gets. I mean, this year so far, Sanner is running 72nd in points. Now, usually a Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series driver, he finds himself pretty well mired back in the standings during this season, during this series. But, you know, overall, Sanner is one of the most talented drivers here from Smithfield, Pennsylvania. And, you know, I wish the best for him, but it's going to be a hard night for him as, you know, so many of these drivers are every week drivers. Now, we've talked about Brandon Minto off and on all night, and apparently I do want to hear this beautiful singing voice of his. However, let's take a look and see what some of this information is on him. Now, Norman, Oklahoma's very own Brandon Minto has just one win on the season, but 7 top 5s, 9 top 10s, 435 points. And that's kind of the Furta Motorsports mindset here. You know, be consistent, be good, and if you're not good, be done. You know, just get to the finish, make sure that you've got a clean race car when you cross the start-finish line under the checkered flag, and all things are going to be okay. And Brandon Minto absolutely has proven that that's how he's going to drive. And I mean, you know, Mike Wright, that is so dominant when he gets behind the wheel of one of these Xfinity cars, basically is kind of like their version of Obi-Wan Kenobi. He is just the Jedi Master. And, you know, Brandon Minto, I know, has picked up a lot from him over the last 2 years of them being a team here in the Xfinity Series. And quite frankly, I love watching these guys race. I mean, Brandon has become, you know, a really good acquaintance here on the iRacing.com servers. I mean, you know, I look forward to watching my friend race here every week. And, you know, as he comes across the start-finish line on lap number 19, I know that this is going to change. He's going to be making some kind of changes to the 12, because this has been an interesting race already. We look at the race conditions, 88 degrees on the asphalt. Originally, you know, track temperature was about 95, 96 when the green flag flew. So temperature has certainly fallen. I mean, it's only, you know, 76 degrees if you're there in the stands out here in Sonoma. And, you know, somehow Brandon has managed to keep it between the navigational beacons as he works inside that little safety pin entry to the S's. "19 laps in the books. 20 cars left on the lead lap. That's pretty good considering last night, by the time the checkered flag flew, there were just 3 drivers left on the lead lap altogether. So I'm excited to see what some of these guys are able to pull off tonight, especially, you know, Ethan Ball is going to would be our lucky dog once we cross, assuming Curtis doesn't pass anybody else. In fact, let's see where John Wilco is. Not too far away, but it looks like the McAdoo, Pennsylvania native representing the 570 going to be able to stay ahead of Trent Curtis for the time being, as Trent Curtis crosses the start-finish line, now comes down here into the curb turn. And as he gets through the curb turn, he's going to head here toward that little safety pin entry to the S's. I mean, so far so good for Trent Curtis all night long. And quite frankly, I can't wait to see what he does later on through this piece, because he has absolutely run a clinic as Trent Curtis comes through the S's and now comes down toward the straightaway for the hairpin. We can see him working his way through, and now we get to see Trent Curtis work his way one more time in stage one through the hairpin with basic relative ease, no problems here, as he's going to bring us back to the start-finish line, and Trent Curtis will be your stage one winner. Watching for Kavaja Holt now. When Sam Bolin crosses the start-finish line, that will be the conclusion of stage one, as we wait for the 10th place car to cross. And we see, now that's Alexander Gangler, who's now down a lap. But Sam Bolin getting ready to cross the start-finish line, and now we should see that yellow flag fly for the end of stage one. Trent Curtis going to be your stage one winner. He'll be followed by Gabriel Lafreniere, Dennis Mickelson, Brandon Minto, Tane Hodison, Kavaja Holt, Anthony Savignano, Sylvain Joly, Brockton Packard, and Sam Bolin. We're going to wait for Trent Curtis to get caught up to the iRacing.com pace car, as he's got to be, obviously there's going to be some discussions here amongst the teammates in the JAR TCR chat. And there's Trent getting caught up with the iRacing.com pace car. Let's see if we can get him caught up here. Hey, Trent, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Loud and clear, Dave. How's it going?
Man, it's going good for me up here, but it looks like you have just decided to start running a clinic here tonight. What's going on with the 13, and what do you have under the hood there?
It'd be a Chevrolet engine. I hope it is at least, but no. Another great mic setup here. I know it's a tough go for some of my teammates here. Like me and Dennis, we're first and third. I'm proud of that. Yeah, it's been really good for the Bommarito 13 here. I've been taking it easy. Like the last two laps, I'm sure you probably covered that gap closed. I thought the stage ended at 20 and 21, so I was just half throttling it, taking it easy. So, no, it's been real good so far. Really happy with the setup. Made a couple changes before we got going here. Felt pretty good about it. Hopefully we can keep her up front here.
We'll wait patiently. I don't want to interrupt your pit entry here, so I'll just keep my mouth shut for a minute while you get yourself down there.
Yeah, we're in it. We're good to go now.
All right, fair enough. So, listen, take us through this. Is there going to be any changes made to the 13, or are you just going to rock and roll? And, it's crazy for me to hear that you took it easy because, yeah, we did watch, some of that gap close up. But, you have just been in another zip code all night.
Yeah, honestly, for, the last 2 or 3 laps, I literally was just half throttle, fourth gear around the whole place, I thought the stage was over. So, I wasn't until everyone just kept yelling at me to go that, I finally throttled down. But, no, it's been nice and easy, just trying to save my stuff. Thankfully, no one flipped the stage. That was one thing I was a little worried about, was people flipping the stages. So, if you get it interesting, just bribe the person down 10th to flip the stage and we'll see what happens.
Oh, trust me. We've seen that happen more often than not. Nobody's crazy enough to do it, on a road course, because I think everybody's got just enough of a feather foot that they don't want to try to, make a mistake here on a road course. But, here you are, a part-time driver. How does that kind of work out? It's got to suck not being in the car all week long, and sometimes for multiple weeks, and all of a sudden you've got to hop in, and I mean, somehow, even with that, you still wind up leading.
I mean, Mike often calls me the Boris of my own team, which is funny because my name's on the other half of the team. But no, I look forward to these road courses, Dave. To me, this place, Darlington, like most of my schedule has been races where you have to race the racetrack, and that's the biggest thing is that with this car especially is if you try to force this car to do things that you don't know what you're doing or you're not capable of doing with this car, it's going to punish you. And part of the joy I get out of these road courses is just finding a rhythm and a flow. So I love these road courses. I love the no cautions. I heard about the chaos that was happening for the first couple laps. I'm glad that there aren't restarts here.
Oh, believe you me, there was a period in time where we did have cautions at road courses, and well, I don't want to say that I was suicidal, but by the end of some of those races, I was ready to jump out of the booth.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all. Probably was a long night.
All right, man. Well, listen, good luck. It was nice to talk to you. I appreciate your time. And listen, good luck the rest of the way because it looks like the iRacing.com pace car lights are out.
Pace car lights are out. I am picking driver's right, Dave. I'm gonna try right. I wasn't confident about left. So we're gonna try driver's right on this restart here. We'll see how this goes.
All right, my man. Good luck.
Thank you, Dave. Hope to talk to you for a couple more times here.
Absolutely, as we get him moved back on up here in the JRTCR chat. It looks like everybody going to line up where they're supposed to be. Of course, Trent deciding that he's going to take driver's right, which is an interesting, setup, especially trying to get yourself through turns 1 and 2 at a place like this. But listen, if anybody can do it tonight, it seems like it's going to be Trent Curtis. Now, this does give an opportunity to some of our other talented race drivers, especially like, your Lafrenières and your Mintos, who are going to line up second and third position tonight. But they're also very good at the road courses. So that being said, Lafrenière and Minto going to run a pretty good shot here at trying to get through this piece as Curtis comes into what will be the final stretch before the hairpin turn. I know we talk about it almost too much. As the iRacing.com pace car shoots on down pit road, a lot of these drivers still trying to catch up to the field. So obviously they're even having trouble on some of the caution laps getting around. But lap 24, here we go, 25 at the line. Trent Curtis gets ready to take the green flag, and we're back underway. Now, thanks to the stage break and the laps that are laid down during the stage break, we've got about 20 to go this time by in Stage 2. So basically, it's going to make Stage 2 almost as equal as Stage 1 is. Jumping to the outside around Tony. Whoa! There goes Dan Morgan in the 72, nearly avoiding disaster as he was just heading right for death as he was ready to take some tires to the face. Now, Trent Curtis was able to get around Tony Bird, who's already down a couple of laps here. And, Tony right now looks like he's down about 9. And quite frankly, Tony Bird is one of those drivers. He's not going to fight you. He's not saying, I'm trying to get those 9 laps back. He knows he's not going to. And Tony Bird gets out of the way of Trent Curtis. Trent Curtis and Gabriel Lafrenière come down the backstretch into the hairpin turn here, making our way around here for the first lap of Stage 2. Brandon Minto trailing now by 1.7 seconds. I mean, that's a huge gap and something that we don't usually see out of Minto, as he and Mickelson run third and fourth right now. Trent Curtis rolls out of the front stretch and comes up the hill, and all of a sudden, he is nice and comfy here, getting ready to make the run out of turn 1. Trent Curtis with Gabriel Lafrenière all over him, but not able to get there as he works his way toward the S's and down this back straightaway. We can see Trent Curtis trying his very best as he comes into the S's to hold it steady. But everybody just kind of trying their hand here at getting comfortable as we get ready to come back down toward the hairpin. Here they come, Curtis and Lafreniere. And as they get set here and get ready to cross for lap number 27, we're going to step aside and pay some bills on Sim Racing Media. I'm Dave Regal, and this is Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series action.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Preen Garden Weed Preventer and Preen Garden Weed Preventer Plus Plant Food block weeds before they start and are safe for use around over 400 flowers, vegetables, trees, and shrubs. Best of all, they give you 3 months of freedom from weeding in just 4 easy steps. You can apply Preen anytime before or during the growing season. But since it's a weed preventer, not a weed killer, early spring is best. Here's how. Start by removing existing weeds and their roots in the area where you want to apply Preen. Sprinkle granules directly onto dry soil, mulch, or stone so that they're evenly spaced. Within 24 hours of applying, integrate the granules into the top layer of soil or mulch or stone-covered bed. Finally, water with a hose or sprinkler or a well-timed soaking rain to activate the protective weed barrier. When activated, Preen creates an invisible weed-fighting barrier just below the soil surface that targets and prevents weed seeds from sprouting and forming roots. People and pets may enter the treated area once dusts have settled and the area is thoroughly dry from watering or first rain. That's it. Now you'll have a beautiful weed-free space and 3 months to do anything but weeding. Satisfaction guaranteed. Trusted for over 50 years, Preen is America's #1 weed preventer brand with weed preventers for every type of garden.
can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it. They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging. And to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
So hi, my name's Christy. I am a wife, a mother of 3 children. I am a sister and an aunt of lots of nieces and nephews, and I'm also a substitute teacher. So my everyday life changed by going to appointments, a lot of appointments, a lot of scans. As during the treatment, my body just got weaker, so I wasn't as active with my children and with my husband. So I was laying on the couch a lot more. I'm an active person, and so that just didn't sit well with me, but that's how it changed. My body was just weaker, and I couldn't do the things that I used to do. So there was a lady in where I live from a local church who had heard that I had breast cancer, and she sent me a letter just reaching out for support, and she actually said that she's the one that told me about Trisha's Hope and that I should contact them, so I did. So specifically, I wasn't able to really work during my treatment or anything like that, so the grant that I was able to get helped me pay my bills, provide gas money. I was driving to and from treatments, and so it helped a lot with bills and everything. I would just say I am so grateful for Trisha's Hope and for all the people that have donated, because I don't know what I would have done without them.
Welcome back to Sonoma, California, where we just had a challenge for the lead between Trent Curtis and Gabriel Lafreniere. Side by side they were, but still, Gabriel Lafreniere not able to seal the deal. Let's take a quick peek back here and see how this all went down, because this, I feel, bears watching again, that's for sure, as they came out of turn 3 and down toward that kind of safety pin turn toward the S's. All of a sudden, Gabriel Lafreniere had an edge that Trent Curtis hasn't really had to deal with all night long. Now they slid back into position again, and Trent Curtis was able to take back the lead, but I'll tell you what, this was hot and heavy for a few moments here as we work lap number 34. As we're on our way toward lap number 45, Trent Curtis still your race leader. He and Gabriel Lafreniere have just checked out from the rest of the field. Brandon Minto, 2.17 seconds back. Now, he's got Dennis Mickelson and Tane Hodison just behind him. But for the most part, these top two have absolutely just been throwing haymakers at one another for the last 2 laps. We're going to take a quick peek here and see what just happened with Kavaja Holt here. And actually, looks like Kavaja Holt simply just had a connection issue here. As happens, But, I mean, so far so good tonight for some of these drivers as Brandon Minto runs down here into the corner. John Wilco, meanwhile, out of McAdoo, Pennsylvania. Here's a driver that we need to speak about for just a few moments here as we get up and about here to the drone cam. Now, John Wilco runs 21st in points so far this season. He's got 3 top 10s on the year out of the All Smiles Racing stable. And, you know, first of all, those guys from All Smiles, they really are literally all smiles. They are just, they're some of the coolest guys to talk to as, you know, we see Wilco work his way down here back toward the exit of the S's and toward the hairpin. But, you know, John Wilco out of McAdoo, Pennsylvania, first of all, representing a town that I know well. I know the fire chief up there, the fire chief's brother, who is also the chief up in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. You know, a cool little town here in northeastern Pennsylvania. In the coal regions, of course, the only place in the world that you can find anthracite coal is in Pennsylvania's coal regions. It's pretty exclusive. It's a cool club. As Wilco hauls it out of the last turn there and across the start-finish line, currently running himself, you know, all things considered, pretty steady here in 20th position. He's the last car on the lead lap, so he's definitely in danger this time. And I know that he was able to hold off Curtis at the end of stage 1, but I don't think he's going to have that ability this time by. Trying to make a little microphone change here. Trying to make things a little bit more comfortable because, of course, here at a road course, we don't get near as much time to take a breather. And at the same time, I've also got no partner here in the broadcast booth. Of course, Matt Metler on assignment elsewhere in the iRacing universe tonight. Trent Curtis, our race leader, being now trailed by Gabriel Lafreniere by 1.6 seconds. So obviously opening up a major gap there. Sam Bolin here. Let's take a look at where old Sam just went wrong, running in 10th position behind Gabriel Lafreniere. I'm sorry, Sylvain Joly. Wrong French name. As we see Sam Bolin just, he bites a little bit too much curb, and he's got to lock it up here. He gets himself into the dirt, and that is one way to do it. Brockton Packard doing the same thing, and of course Packard here running in 7th position as he gets himself, too much curb. He upsets the car, and now he's holding on for dear life as he runs off the side of the road, but he keeps it ahead right there of Eugenio Alonso in the 26. So all things considered, a lot of these drivers have had some near catastrophic incidents here on the racetrack, and they managed to hold it together. That's something that you don't see very often on the iRacing.com servers. A lot of times you'll see one guy get bit by the accident bug, and all of a sudden he just can't shake it. And, you know, even somebody who's running a perfect race like Trent Curtis is right now still runs that risk of making one mistake. I mean, you know, a little bit of complacency can breed a whole lot of problems, you know, on the racetrack. But so far, Trent Curtis, one of the most disciplined drivers I've ever seen out here. He has hit every mark, every time, every lap the exact same way. And this is exactly why he's now gapping Gabriel Lafreniere by 3.25 seconds on lap number 37. Running back here to Nick Hansen in the 99. Now, he was right around Tony Burt in the Ford just ahead of him, but we can see the 99 trailing Burt. Let's see if Tony got involved in this at all. I sure hope not. Well, Hansen gets off the racetrack, comes back into line in the S's, and all of a sudden has a full head of steam, goes to pass Tony, and then gets his way down here. Now, meanwhile, it shows something happened with Tony Burt. Maybe not. as Tony just kind of got out of the way. Let's see what happens coming into the hairpin. Oh! Yeah, Richard Pruitt in the 88 just rear-ended Tony Burt like they're in traffic on the Schuylkill Expressway here in Philadelphia. Dave Regal, of course, in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. Want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, as you do every night now. Of course, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday is usually my kind of deal here on Sim Racing Media. However, tomorrow night the Truck Series is off, and the Truck Series is off after tomorrow night, 2 more weeks before coming back. Basically, the Truck Series off for the month of June, which, for lack of a better term, kind of sucks. It's something fun, to come in here on a Tuesday night and watch those truck drivers race their hearts out, and they do. But unfortunately, we mirror the real NASCAR schedule, so while the real NASCAR truck drivers are off, so are we here on iRacing, at least on Sim Racing Media. Of course, we've got other races to go this week. Now, Thursday night starts the Racers Elite Next Gen Cup Series next season here in 2024. And, of course, we'll be at 7:30 p.m. on Thursday night from Daytona, as it seems to be everybody's traditional start of the season racetrack. And so it's a clean slate for all of those drivers, as we're going to get underway for the second season of 2024. You should have with me that night should be Shane Lake in the broadcast booth. Usually it's Daniel Paulus Jr., but he has been off on assignment for the real world. And quite frankly, sim racing is not near as important as your real life, depending on who you ask. Young Camel saying he has one of Moynihan's kidneys. That's interesting. He is apparently a true American hero. Let's take a look here at Daniel Moynihan from Boston, Massachusetts, in the 53, running right now in 16th position as we pull up that driver information. Now, Moynihan, he's been around all season long, and he's been hanging on the best he can. He runs 41st in points right now with 1 top 5, a pair of top 10s. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, he may be back in 41st, but he puts the work in every week. I mean, oftentimes the reasons that Moynihan finishes poorly is not even his fault. It's usually the jokers that are around him making poor decisions. Now, he's repainted the Dunkin' Donuts 53, of course, Dunkin' Donuts being founded up there in Boston, Massachusetts. Me, personally, I'm a Wawa coffee guy, but, Dunkin' will do if I'm not home, that's for sure. Of course, at least you can get it up and down the East Coast. Moynihan suddenly decided that he wants to dirt track it. Apparently, he's been learning from Doc Hudson. But the Dunkin' Donuts 53, listen, that's a double bounce there of the left front. That had to be violent on a good day. But Daniel Moynihan, I've gotten a chance to speak with him a couple of times this season, and, week after week, this man is putting in the work, and quite frankly, I know that he's going to have a breakthrough night one of these nights. It just doesn't look like it's going to be tonight, as he's, kind of mired back here in the standings. And quite frankly, it's a road course. We don't expect everybody to, come out here and light the world on fire, even as he does hold on to that final lead lap spot, running in 16th position right now. And apparently one of his kidneys belongs to Young Camel right now. Richard Putnam says that Minto should be one Miller down by now. Quite frankly, here we are on lap number 41. I'm pretty sure he's 2 down. Of course, I'm being joined by the Captain Morgan, tonight. Lap 27, drink up Minto, beer number 3, as apparently the Allen experience is on beer number 3. Quite frankly, Allen drinks trash. There, I said it. And while Alan Bergen drinks trash, Trent Curtis sets the pace here, laying down a 1 minute 19.43 second lap at Sonoma Raceway. He's followed by Gabriel Lafreniere in the 06, but Gabriel is now 6 seconds down. So all of a sudden, this gap has gotten crazy here on lap number 42 here at Sonoma. Michael Witt showing that he has gone off track. Let's take a look here. Anybody want to take bets on whether or not Michael Witt gets loose here in turn 1 and overshoots the turn? There he is, locking that front left wheel up, and that's enough to send him on down to the pits. Dennis Mickelson registering as having fully crashed. Let's see what happened to Mickelson here in the 25 as we come down here. Now, Mickelson was working 41 at this moment as he grabbed some curb and just got the rear end of that car upset. Now, of course, as we go back, and let's just rewind this a little bit here as we have time. Now, the way that he comes in, watch the rear end of that car skip up. In the next-gen car, that may not have been as violent, just simply because the next-gen car has that independent suspension. Meanwhile, these are solid rear axles across the board. All of a sudden, Daniel Moynihan looks to the rear, and he can see nothing but Trent Curtis all over his rear bumper. So Daniel Moynihan going to go down a lap here on lap number 43 as we close in on the end of stage 2. You almost wonder if he's going to try to stay ahead of Trent Curtis, maybe holding Curtis up to some degree. But at the same time, he doesn't want to lose the lap. He wants to, don't get me wrong, he's got a good chance of being the lucky dog, but suddenly he has to find another gear to stay in front of Trent Curtis. Daniel Moynihan down a kidney, staying ahead of Trent Curtis on lap number 43. He gets loose coming out of the S's as we come down into the hairpin turn. This is the moneymaker for Curtis as all of a sudden Moynihan gets through the hairpin with relative ease. Trent Curtis just a little bit better there on entry, closing the gap ever so gently here as we cross the line on lap number 44. 2 to go in stage 2. Watching Trent Curtis here tonight, getting ready to work the inside, technically the outside. Let's just call it the right side of Daniel Moynihan as we come through here. He passes Moynihan, and now 15 cars on the lead lap as Nick Hansen would be the next driver on the lunch menu for Trent Curtis. Taking a look at our conditions, the track has cooled off even more here as we lost about 2 degrees on ambient air temperature, 84 degrees on the asphalt now. So that's going to, tighten up the racetrack a little bit more. That means that as the racetrack tightens up, drivers are going to want to loosen up to try to continue to move these cars forward as all of a sudden Trent Curtis coming up on the rear bumper of Randall Watkins, who's already down about 5 laps. So kind of an inconsequential pass here for Curtis as he works around Randall Watkins, Mr. 305 out of Miami, Florida. Of course, formerly of Engine 3 down there in the Miami-Dade Fire Rescue Department. Proud to call him my brother here. But Trent Curtis on lap number 45, the final lap of stage 2, really setting the world on fire here as he comes through, rolling out of turn 3 and down toward the beginning of the S's. Anthony Savignano registering as having gone off track. John Wilco registering as having crashed. We know that Trent Curtis is going to come across as our Stage 2 winner. Let's quick go to John Wilco as, wow, he just completely overshot things, and as he's trying to wheel that car back into position in this battle for 18th, the rear end of the car steps out on him, and that'll be kind of catastrophic for him as the 25 makes its way by. Trent Curtis crosses the start-finish line. He is our Stage 2 winner, waiting for Zach Osborne to finish as he's about a half lap behind. as now we wait for Curtis to come down toward the hairpin here at Sonoma Raceway. Looks like it's going to be a pretty easy finish for him as well, as he's got 5.2 seconds up to Anthony Savignano, 6.3 back to Tane Hodison. We're going to talk about Osborne and Hodison in stage number 3, but as Osborne comes out of that hairpin turn back onto the front stretch, crossing the start-finish line, that will trigger the caution, and stage 2 is complete. Now, the interesting thing here is that because of the distance that Trent Curtis had, I mean, he's going to be able to catch up to the iRacing.com pace car pretty easily, but, the other drivers are all going to have a lot of work to do as they've got to get caught back up now to the rear bumper of Trent Curtis. And we're going to get a chance to talk to Curtis right now, as it looks like Alan Bergen has also slid in there, but we'll talk to him in just a moment. Hey, Trent, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Hey, Dave, how's it going?
It's going good, but here you are sweeping the first 2 stages. You finally had a little bit of a battle with Gabriel Lafreniere that obviously you threw water on that fire fast to cool him off. How's the 13 feeling, and what's going to be the strategy moving through stage 3?
It's feeling pretty good. He can really get me on braking, which I heard somebody flip the stages, so add new dynamic to it. That 06 is really good. Be tough to hold him off.
Both of those neighbors from both of those neighbors from the north up there in Canada are really good on the road courses. Gabriel just having a better night than his teammates. But I mean, obviously if one person's flipped the stage, that's fine. Are you going to be making any changes to the 13? I know the track temperature has cooled down by a couple more degrees. What does that do for your grip here?
Track temperature being cool is just like any normal racetrack, really. It just, adds a little more grip back into the track. For me personally, this is the longest stage we're going to have. It's 34 laps. So it really, we might make a change or 2 here just to, be able to compete on braking, because that 06 is really good under brakes. I was surprised how good he was. But no, Bomberito 13 has been pretty good so far. I've thought about flipping the stages. I thought long and hard about doing it. And, when I heard it was only 1, I'm going to roll the dice. We'll just figure that, hopefully.
As we ride on board with you coming down pit road, I mean, you can think about flipping the stages, but, especially when we go back to green flag racing, there's always some type of, kerfuffle once the flag flies. So it's almost better that you get up here and ahead of some of that mayhem, as we do see Trent Curtis sliding into that P1 pit box. He's going to be joined by Brandon Minto just behind. We can see Minto getting his service. Trent Curtis, we appreciate your time. Good luck the rest of the way. And, hey, listen, I'm expecting we're going to see you on the podium at the end of this thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping to talk to you again here, Dave.
All right, man, as we're going to send him back up in there to the JRTCR stable. And I want to welcome into the broadcast booth now my partner from St. Louis who drinks the terrible beer. It's Alan Bergen making a cameo appearance tonight.
How's it going? Look,
well,
I
Alan,
couldn't...
It's going pretty good up here in the broadcast booth. It's even better for Trent Curtis. I don't know if you've been watching this race at all, but this has been an entertaining night for Curtis, who, is a part-time driver. The real world keeps him out of the cockpit some nights, and he has just lit the world on fire.
It's funny. He's from Clarence Center, New York, but yet he drives a car that's sponsored by a St. Louis car dealership.
We have a Bomberito.
Do you have a Bomberito?
Yep. No, I lie. We have Battaglia. My bad.
Okay. Anyways,
it's
so
fancy cars that I won't be driving.
Look, I gotta address this AB thing. So here's the deal. I'm willing to drink a Yingling on the broadcast, but we gotta get some likes. We gotta get those likes and bell notifications going.
Well, you heard it first here, folks. Basically what we're hearing is he will finally wake up and smell the hops. But we need some more likes here. We need some more subscribers on Sim Racing Media.
So look, we're at 3,095 subscribers. So if we can get to 4,000 subscribers Sunday night in Iowa, I will hop on the broadcast. We'll do a webcam, and I will drink. I will wake up and sell the hops.
I mean, listen, me personally, I think that that's a fabulous thing. So make sure, folks, that on Sunday night you tune in to us here on Sim Racing Media. Of course, Matt Metler going to be in the broadcast booth. And if we can get to 4,000 subscribers on the Sim Racing Media page, it's almost like, you know, when the Mormons come to your front door and they ask if you've heard the good news of Jesus Christ. Have you heard the good news of Yuengling Brewery?
I have not.
Yeah, well, trust me, it's America's oldest brewery since 1829 out of Pottsville, Pennsylvania, and you might change your life. It's the same thing as accepting Christ into your heart. Accept Yuengling into your liver and Christ into your heart, and you will never be sad the rest of your life.
You know what? Those are words to live by. Those are words to live by. But
listen,
hey, you know what?
I'm telling you right now, when we get down to Miami, I'll be blessing the house with it.
Yeah, we had Shane Lake and your work mistress had one hell of a broadcast over at Racers Elite, previewing their season as we get ready to come back to Green here at the Monday night NASCAR. But nonetheless, Lee Campbell dominated the truck race over there, and if he's dominating the truck race in a preseason race, these guys are going to be able for a long season over there at Racers Elite.
Well, and, you know, Racers Elite is a big deal on Sim Racing Media. We'll get to that in just a moment, as Trent Curtis is going to take the right side driver's right side lane here, coming back to the checkered to the start-finish line. Suddenly, I can't decide if it's a start-finish line, a checkered flag, or what the deal is. But here, as we cross the line, it's going to be 50 laps in the books, and Trent Curtis hits the loud pedal, and off we go in stage 3.
Yeah, I mean, look, these guys are almost climbing the hill. And, you know, here's the thing, Dave, is I'm a downshifter. I usually take those first couple corners in second gear.
Here's something I'm noticing, and I don't know how long this has been a thing, but I'm looking at the right side where the exhaust is coming out of these, and I'm not sure when it was, you know, which update it was, but all of a sudden you can see some blue at the bottom of the flame coming out from under the car.
Isn't that cool?
When did this happen?
I want to say it was 2 updates ago.
Well, apparently I don't pay it close enough attention. But that does look really cool.
I mean look,
iRacing prides itself on being, you know, as immersive and close to real life as possible. And speaking of immersive, it looks like Sylvain Joly immersed himself in a little bit of dirt here. As we can see him here in the 08, they go 3 wide with Eugenio Alonso. Backing out of it is Joly, but he comes across the nose of the 50, makes contact, and gets slid up into the tire wall. He bounces back into traffic. Wow. Ooh, Ethan Ball just had to soil himself, that's for sure. In fact, let's take a look and see what happened from Zach Osborne's perspective, because this was happening just ahead of him. Zach Osborne comes down the hill. Now watch Kavaja Holt doing the same thing here. Oh! That was interesting. Let's ride along here on the front side. I think something just snapped here.
Now, there's no, from what I understand, there's no cautions in these races except for the stage breaks, right?
Yep, we have been green flag racing since the drop of the green flag.
2 cautions and none of them for cause.
Nope, and believe you me, that is just fine and dandy. We've already had incidents with a couple of other leagues that did have cautions during road course races, and it nearly caused me to jump out the window. I want to take a look here at Tane Hodison for a moment, because, you know, Tane has been up here battling to try to get his way toward the lead out of Brunswick, Maine. Of course, Hodison, we talked about earlier. I was thinking that it was a completely different thing, and it was not. But Tane Hodison runs 24th in points right now. 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, no wins on the season yet for the young man out of Brunswick, Maine. Obviously, he's hoping to get himself up there a little bit more. We've talked about our Canadian contingent so far a couple of times tonight. Let's look at Gabriel Lafreniere from St. Jude. And usually it's the 06 Oxmoor, but tonight it's being scored as the 16. Now, Lafreniere here, one of these drivers that he's fighting every week in all 3 series. I mean, the man puts a lot of time in, but just one top 10 here in the Xfinity series to speak of. That's kind of rough for him. As we look back here at teammate Sylvain Joly from Saint-Eustache, Quebec. Now, Sylvain Joly, he's got a little bit of a different story on the season. 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s. These guys are all out here battling all season long, and we still have one more. I've got to find him down here. And I don't see our final Canadian contingent. Here he is, Claude Ferland in the 43. Now, Ferland here, he's basically, got the best record out of all 3 of our friends from the north. No wins, but a top 5, a top 10, and he's also raced in every one of these races. And that's how you amass enough points to get yourself into 11th right now in our point standings. I mean, we saw it last week during the finale of the Racers Elite Cup Series, where one driver literally missed one race, and it was enough to keep him out of the playoffs. What kind of consistency do you feel, Alan, as a driver, when you're able to be on the racetrack every week? And, of course, as I say that, I get a text message from Alan saying that he's in the middle of a restart on his computer. Nothing like a hiccup when you're not even driving the car. As we take a look here at Nick Hansen in the 99 Funkaway Chevrolet Camaro. Usually the Funkaway brand is out here driven by Parker Retzlaff. Gabriel Lafreniere, he runs in third. Nick Hansen back to the 99 as he's got himself all kinds of whipping around the racetrack. It seems like he's going to be at one of these stages of his race where he's, running 13th. He's not down a lap yet. There's no reason to get, let's just say there's no reason to get worried. And Nick Hansen looks to mbop his way up here to Chad Sanner in the 94. He's got a rear view full of Daniel Moynihan, but still able to hold his own. Meanwhile, Brandon Minto holding off Dennis Mickelson in the 25. We go back to Hansen as we're letting iRacing do the deciding tonight. Because iRacing at least is able to pay attention to about 14,000 different things where yours truly can only focus on one. Aaron Mack chasing down Randall Watkins in a battle for 25th position. He's just behind the 66 of Chris Custer in 16th. So Aaron Mack's got to lay down some lappage here to get up there and around Randall Watkins. As now we take a look at Chris Custer in his Coca-Cola machine. Gabriel Lafreniere, wow, iRacing, slow down. You're going to give someone a seizure. As we look at Gabriel Lafreniere and Tane Hodison. So it goes Curtis Hodison and Lafreniere with Brandon Minto looking from the outside in. Anthony Savignano right now in 7th position on our leaderboard. And Savignano, kind of a different story from the leaderboard tonight to our point standings. 13th position in the point standings, 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, and 231 points out of first. He's still got a shot. I know that sounds wild, but I mean, there are other drivers that don't have as many races as he does, and he's finishing, consistently week after week as Savignano. I mean, in 13th position, he's just one spot out of the playoffs looking from the outside in, and depending on who's eligible and who's not, that could get him in as he's got the Air Jordan Toyota Camry cranked up here right now into 7th position. We've talked about him before, but we've got 2 Zachs. We've got Zach Osborne and Zach Vaughn. Let's start with Zach Osborne as he has the 16 machine running in 10th position. Now, Zach Osborne, kind of an interesting story. I got kind of hard on him before because it looked like he was driving with a V-plow in the front of his car, but he's really become a disciplined driver this season. He's got 1 top 5, 3 top 10s on the season. He runs 15th in the point standings. And believe me, as far out as we are from the playoffs, this young man here could wind up, really lighting the world on fire. Zachary Vaughn, meanwhile, 42nd. Now, he doesn't often come here to the Xfinity Series. We know that. And I know that he's going to be working his way up through the standings. But, Zach Vaughn running in 11th position tonight, that's going to be really helpful for him as we work through this race. 56 laps in the books tonight at Sonoma Raceway. Chad Sanner running the 94 out of Smithfield, PA. And tonight he has gone with the Napa Auto Parts paint scheme. We take a peek here at some of his statistics. And, of course, Sanner, again, not a normal driver here in the Xfinity Series, so not a whole lot to talk about stat-wise for him. But, again, another driver that we expect to see making more consistent starts. As, we've talked about Nick Hansen as well, bopping his way through the field. And Nick Hansen, already a top 5, 6 top 10s. He runs 6th in the points right now. And to get in the money, he's only 130 points away from first, and he's 24 points away from 5th position. So he is nicely nestled in here into our top 12 that would be playoff drivers. Looking to see if there's any of these drivers out here not on the racetrack anymore, perhaps putting it on the hauler. In fact, I see Randall Watkins. Let's see if he's available. Hey, Randall, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Dave.
Looks like you put it on the hauler. What happened there with the 27 tonight?
Oh, no, we're just coming in, just letting everybody go by. I'm just trying to survive this thing. So, we're just kind of getting out of the way of everybody for a little bit. Give them room to race, and I'm just I've injured my shoulder, so I can't really turn the way I want to. So I don't want to be a hazard.
You have just had a season of injuries. First a leg, now the shoulder.
I know. I got something kind of dark cloud hanging over me or something. So,
well, listen, you may think that it's a dark cloud, but we're here to put the spotlight on you because, listen, that 27 is looking sharp.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad
All right, man. Well,
looking
listen,
hard.
I don't want to hold you up, so good luck the rest of the way. Of course, getting out of the way of other people is usually the nice thing to do here on the racetrack. So good luck the rest of the way. We're going to be talking. In fact, while you're here, let's talk about some of these stats. Now, you've had a long season here. You run 31st in points right now. But, in all three series, the truck series especially, you're really strong. What makes some of these cars easier to handle, versus where you are in points?
It's the similarity to the old Gen 6 cars, because me and my team have all talked, and none of us like the the next gen car. Is just nobody can get used to it. It's just a handful, and it's like no good reason why. It's just that, just the way to change the rear suspension. And trying to get used to that kind of a setup, it's just a handful. I'm still trying to get used to it, even after a year and a half now. And even the guys I race with on my team are having the same issues too. But now the Xfinity and the truck, oh man, they haven't changed any. So, well, the truck has. But, it's just gotten a little better. So... And the Xfinity, it's just like the Gen 6, actually. So I love the Xfinity car, even though right now my finishes doesn't show it.
Well, it is what it is, but, and I totally understand it. But listen, I don't want to be in your ear while you're trying to navigate this thing. So good luck the rest of the way, my brother, and we will chat with you later.
I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you.
All right, man. Going to move him back on up here into the Bandit Racing stable here. Randall Watkins, driver the number 27, of course, a United States Navy veteran, and retired from the Miami-Dade Fire and Rescue Department from Engine 3. It just rolls off the tongue so easy, of course. in the Reading Fire Department, Ladder 1 and Engine 3 run out of the same house, and for my entire life it has been, as a member of the Keystone Ladder Company, Ladder 1 and Engine 3 are just synonymous for me, so it's just an easy roll there. And speaking of rolling, 20 to go now for Trent Curtis, who leads Gabriel Lafreniere and Tane Hodison. And I mean, Hodison now all over the back of Gabriel Lafreniere, and don't look now, Brandon Minto. All of a sudden, we have quite a battle going on here. Oh, just as we go there, Brandon Minto gets loosened up by the 25. That's going to allow Dennis Mickelson to get on by him. Tane Hodison running away from Mickelson as side-by-side goes Minto and Mickelson. Now all of a sudden Mickelson looks back, and I mean he's looking back right now at a frustrated driver in Brandon Minto, but so Einlander. Is that like being Zoolander or the Outlander? So Einlander. There's Uncle Scott, my man, pots and pans. Go get a 12 car, he says. 2 thumbs up, 2 beers in. Go Minto from Uncle Scott. Uncle Scott, I'm not on the beer tonight. I am on the captain. And he says hello as Captain Morgan makes a fabulous pre-mixed Long Island iced tea. So it takes all the guesswork out of having to make your own. And believe me, that makes it much easier to pour and even easier to drink. As we work with 19 laps to go, we're going to step aside and pay some bills one final time on Sim Racing Media. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us tonight. As we head on here into commercial land, do not change your channel, as we're going to go NASCAR side by side and keep an eye on this race.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Preen Garden Weed Preventer and Preen Garden Weed Preventer Plus Plant Food block weeds before they start and are safe for use around over 400 flowers, vegetables, trees, and shrubs. Best of all, they give you 3 months of freedom from weeding in just 4 easy steps. You can apply Preen anytime before or during the growing season. But since it's a weed preventer, not a weed killer, early spring is best. Here's how. Start by removing existing weeds and their roots in the area where you want to apply Preen. Sprinkle granules directly onto dry soil, mulch, or stone so that they're evenly spaced. Within 24 hours of applying, integrate the granules into the top layer of soil or mulch or stone-covered bed. Finally, water with a hose or sprinkler or a well-timed soaking rain to activate the protective weed barrier. When activated, Preen creates an invisible weed-fighting barrier just below the soil surface that targets and prevents weed seeds from sprouting and forming roots. People and pets may enter the treated area once dusts have settled and the area is thoroughly dry from watering or first rain. That's it. Now you'll have a beautiful weed-free space and 3 months to do anything but weeding. Satisfaction guaranteed. Trusted for over 50 years, Preen is America's #1 weed preventer brand with weed preventers for every type of garden.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it. They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
So hi, my name's Christy. I'm a wife, a mother of 3 children. I am a sister and an aunt of lots of nieces and nephews, and I'm also a substitute teacher. So my everyday life changed by going to appointments, a lot of appointments, a lot of scans. During the treatment, my body just got weaker, so I wasn't as active with my children and with my husband. So I was laying on the couch a lot more. I'm an active person, and so that just didn't sit well with me, but that's how it changed. My body was just weaker, and I couldn't do the things that I used to do. So There was a lady in where I live from a local church who had heard that I had breast cancer, and she sent me a letter just reaching out for support, and she actually said that she's the one that told me about Trisha's Hope and that I should contact them, so I did. So specifically, I wasn't able to really work during my treatment or anything like that, so the grant that I was able to get helped me pay my bills, provide gas money. I was driving to and from treatments, and so it helped a lot with bills and everything. I would just say I am so grateful for Trisha's Hope and for all the people that have donated, because I don't know what I would have done without them.
Welcome back to Sonoma Raceway, where we're getting ready for the finale of this race here with 12 laps to go. Trent Curtis, all of a sudden here with the 13, gapping by 11.6 seconds. Gabriel Lafreniere, one of our neighbors from the north, as things have gotten nice and comfy up here for Curtis. 13 drivers on the lead lap right now. And, of course, last night at the end of the race, we just had 3. So Trent Curtis still not running away from the field like we saw last evening. But, here we are with 12 to go now, 11 at the line, as he just ripped off another fast lap at 1 minute 17 seconds, .26. As he comes out of that hairpin turn back toward the start-finish line, we're going to be 11 to go now, as he's now gapping Lafreniere by 12.8 seconds. So we're watching that gap get ever wider here. And, quite frankly, in the battle box, it just seems like nobody else is around Trent Curtis tonight. Even as we look around, Trent Curtis has about 2 seconds to get to Dan Morgan to put him down another lap. Now, Alexander Gangler holding on to 18th position, about 1.6 seconds behind. So, at this point, Trent Curtis is just literally in a world of his own as we work this lap. Gangler's down 3 laps, Dan Morgan's down 28, and we're still not at the end of this piece at Sonoma. So I want to welcome everyone in tonight. Dave Regal with you here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth just outside the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. With now 11 laps to go, it's going to be 10 by the time I get telling you about all of this. As, of course, here in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series, we're looking forward to finding out who's going to join Gabriel Lafreniere on the podium. Now, I say that because there's only about 1.4 seconds between Lafreniere and Tane Hodison. Brandon Minto, meanwhile, is only 1.13 seconds behind Tane Hodison. And, he's absolutely moving in fast here as we take a look from the hood here. And the Norman, Oklahoma native still working his way just behind Tane Hodison. He's starting to close in on him. So you have to start wondering if Brandon has saved anything here for the end. Of course, he's got Uncle Scott watching along with us in the YouTube.com live chat. Looks like the big dog, Shane Lake, trying to join in tonight. But, it looks like he's finishing a pizza and relaxing. But don't you worry, I'm like a drug dealer. And, hey, Shane, I got these races here. I got that race you want, the race you need, as we are like drug dealers at Sim Racing Media. Except for the illegal part. As Brandon Minto chases down Tane Hodison. Trent Curtis, though, now out to a 13-second lead over Gabriel Lafreniere, just getting around Nick Hansen. So now there were 12 on the lead lap. We mentioned Alexander Gangler just a few moments ago, and Gangler has been a long-time racer here in this league. Of course, he runs P10 right now in our point standings. He's got 4 top 10s on the year. And once upon a time, Alexander Gangler out of Big Rock, Illinois, was, he was our race control extraordinaire in the Cup Series, and now he's made the transition over as a driver, as race control has become slightly less important in this league, because once upon a time we had to, review literally every wreck, and now things have changed, and basically, wow, what a big hop for Gangler. But with 9 laps to go, I just want to say that it's been a pleasure getting to know Gangler. Of course, he's out here in the 8 machine. Of course, in my first year with the 8 machine, I had to give up the wheel, as basically I was an awful driver, finishing mid-pack on a good day, and I cannot be more proud of the man who took my driver's seat there, as he gets this Toyota Supra cranked up and running strong tonight. It's just a matter, I say he's running strong tonight, and he may not have a very impressive finish, right now in 18th position, but after watching Trent Curtis basically run a clinic all night, to finish in 18th and still be, just about 4 laps down, it's not a bad thing, that's for sure. Just in the last 2 laps, Trent Curtis has extended his lead over Gabriel Lafreniere by 3 more seconds and now runs 16.25 seconds ahead of Gabriel Lafreniere. Tane Hodison running in 3rd, Brandon Minto in 4th. Let's take you through our standings for the time being. As we see Brandon Minto running in 4th, rounding out the top 5 for the time being is Dennis Mickelson, our Rhinelander. Anthony Savignano, he runs in P6. Brockton Packard in 7th out of Zafrillis, Florida. Sam Bolin runs in 8th. Sylvain Joly from Saint-Eustache, Quebec, he runs in 9th. And Chad Sanner from Smithfield, Pennsylvania, here in 10th position. And, of course, Smithfield, Pennsylvania, near and dear to my heart, as I am, of course, a Pennsylvanian. And we look at Clarence Center, New York's Trent Curtis. In fact, I'm going to take the time real quick here, just because I'm curious where this might be in the world, because I've never heard of Clarence Center, New York. And Lord only knows it's a place I've driven through, never noticed it, as we're going to go here. Apparently they have coffee and snow as we zoom out here. Wow. He's almost a neighbor from the north, as he's just outside of Niagara Falls to the northeast of Buffalo. So, yeah, I guess they would have some snow there, as, Google Maps is showing, and he's closer to Toronto, Canada than he is to New York City. Drivers now wondering what their fuel load is going to be, as we've had a pretty long run here. In fact, let's look at that pit strategy. 25 laps for Trent Curtis, 30 laps for Tane Hodison, as he didn't come in that last segment of the stage. So an interesting move there, but 6 laps to go now for Trent Curtis and company as we work here on lap number 74. Got to be honest, Clarence Center looks like it's just a tiny little burg here. In fact, when I turn on the satellite view, it looks more like it's a development. Apparently there is a Clarence Center United Methodist Church, a UCC church, and an old red barn maple syrup. Ooh. Well then, guess we're going to have to check this out. OldRedBarn716.com. as they're a family business producing locally sourced maple syrup and specialty cut flowers out of our 100-year-old barn in Clarence, New York. So that's kind of cool. Obviously, now there's a reason to go up there. I mean, I wouldn't really make a special trip, but I certainly wouldn't poo-poo it, that's for sure. I'm more fascinated with the fact that that he's just barely on this side of the border. And, of course, I'm looking here at Niagara Falls State Park. And I've heard, and I can't be sure because I've never been there, but from what I understand, Niagara Falls is prettier from the Canadian side. I don't know what to say about that. I have no idea. Currently, I'm looking at it from a street view perspective. And now, of course, I lost it on Google Maps, but it's a pretty interesting little area. I've always wanted to go to Niagara Falls. Never got a chance to go there, so maybe if I get up there, I'm going to go see Trent Curtis with 5 laps to go here at Sonoma Raceway. Shane Lake deciding that he's stronger than the addiction to iRacing, saying, not tonight, Dave, another time. But he's got to relax a little before tomorrow. So, Shane, I miss you. I love you, but that's fine. You go ahead. You sit on the couch and relax while we work with 5 to go. The Michigan Rocker cheering on Brandon Minto. Of course, that's not the great Uncle Scott. Uncle Scott already did check in, though, tonight. And we might not even get a chance to hear about Uncle Scott as Brandon Minto now falls behind Tane Hodgson by 2 seconds and then some. So right now, the way things look with 4 laps to go, our podium is set for the time being. Trent Curtis, Gabriel Lafreniere, and Tane Hodgson. Looks like Zach Osborne and Kavaja Holt having some issues again. Let's take a look at Zach Osborne. Now here's Osborne in the 16. We saw Sylvain Joly go off track. Now Osborne in the 16 gets right along the 67 and gets hooked. Oh, and takes Kavaja Holt with him. And just a little bit of a delayed reaction here from the 00, as after they came down, Kavaja comes to a stop, and then the rear bumper pops off of the 00. Now, we saw Sylvain Joly go off track. Let's take a look and see what happened with him as we try to go back to that camera angle. Here he is. Oh, they were 3 wide again. There's Alonso and the 50 of Anthony Savignano, and it just kind of shoots Sylvain off to the left side of the racetrack. He comes back onto the racing surface and avoids the 96, and Ethan Ball continues on as he just had a near-death experience there, and then, of course, having to get through the wreckage of Kavaja Holt. Trent Curtis has swept the first 2 stages, and he looks to continue the success as he has led every one of these laps tonight, 77 so far. Curtis absolutely could not be stopped all night long here in the 13. He comes into the S's with a full tank of steam as he moves through here. The only thing that could stop him is, like a moose in the middle of the racetrack. I don't even know if they have moose in California. I'm sure if they did, they'd be, let's just assume, taxed heinously. But Trent Curtis coming into the hairpin another time here as he heads out of the hairpin and back toward the start-finish line. The popsicle sticks go in the air as he comes onto the front stretch. He crosses the start-finish line, and we're 2 laps to go. Trent Curtis has led a domineering performance tonight over top of Gabriel Lafreniere and Tane Hodgson. I mean, there has been no stopping this man. And, the excitement is still building as he comes to the rear end here of Zach Osborne. Once he gets around Osborne, we're going to have 10 cars on the lead lap. Still more than we did last night at the end of the Cup race. But still a long night here for many of these drivers, as we're going to take one final look at Casey Bristow here in the 83 in his debut race in the Xfinity Series. He comes down here into that safety pin turn, overshoots it like crazy, then can't get the car wrapped back around and finally corrals it before making his entry into the S's. With 2 laps to go and just a little bit less, Trent Curtis rolls through the hairpin. He's side by side with the 31 and that's Aaron Mack. Aaron Mack respectfully gets out of the way. They come back onto the front stretch. The popsicle sticks go down. The white flag is in the air, and we're racing back to checkers. Our final lap tonight is featuring Trent Curtis ahead of Gabriel Lafreniere and Tane Hodison. We see Lafreniere now 20 seconds behind and 4.5 seconds ahead of Tane Hodison. Tane Hodison running 3 seconds ahead of Brandon Minto. So the way things are, barring any kind of catastrophe, it's going to be Trent Curtis, Gabriel Lafreniere, and Tane Hodison on our podium tonight. As we take a look here at Clarence Center, New York's famous driver here out of the JAR TCR stable. We're going to ride along with him on the final lap as he comes into the S's and back down toward the hairpin. He makes his entry. He gets on the curbs. He has not missed a single mark all evening long. And that, of course, the biggest part of all that is road course racing as he comes through the hairpin, maybe locks up that front tire. Oh, the 51 of John Bawalda trying to come back onto the racetrack. The 13 drives on past him back to the start-finish line as he makes that turn. There he is, Trent Curtis capturing the checkered flag here at Sonoma. Gabriel Lafreniere in the 06 Oxmoor Chevrolet Camaro comes out of the hairpin turn. He'll be the next driver to cross the start-finish line on the lead lap. He does and captures second position while Tane Hodison comes across the line in the next few moments here. And as he does, he will lock up our podium tonight here at Sonoma Raceway in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series. Just trying to get everybody pulled down on in here, so bear with us. And here are all three of our drivers in the waiting room, but right now celebrating here in the middle of the hairpin is Trent Curtis out of Clarence Center, New York. Hey, Trent, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Loud and clear.
Man, you have earned the right to burn it down here at the hairpin. It looks like your teammates are joining you. I mean, what a run tonight. You led every single lap of this race and left just 11 drivers on the lead lap, 10 drivers on the lead lap. Take us through this, and how on earth do you find yourself in victory lane?
Part of what helped was I'm out of fuel. Part of what helped was just the odd how all the pit stops ended up with coming out in front of the 93 helped a ton. Just being able to control the race was big for me, and after that, it was just kind of smooth sailing. That last time around, the 06 couldn't get to me. He was really probably the second best car of the day. It put a great effort together. But no, yeah, that's about for a race that won by 20 seconds. That's probably about as unsmooth as it could possibly be from that second stage. But third stage onward, it was just avoiding some of the lap traffic and keeping around the road.
Yeah, it looked like the lap traffic tonight, kind of made itself not a factor as they respectfully got out of your way. I mean, sometimes you see those lap cars trying to hold on to that one more lap, and tonight they just managed to let you have the stage here, and it was, to me, just a thing of beauty to watch you turn every one of these laps. It seemed like you hit every mark perfectly every time with very little variation in each lap. I mean, I feel like that's definitely the secret to getting around at a place like this.
Well, yeah, I would say so, Dave. The biggest biggest thing is, from what I've learned with various road racing, is that it's a matter of visualizing where you're going to be and visualizing the corners. And some of these corners are hard to visualize. And second thing is just drive within your own limits. And I knew I had a pretty good piece, and I knew that as long as I just kept it on the road, kept the fenders on it, probably would be in good shape. Some of those lappers, man, it scared me. And then I'd look down and I'd see I still had like 5 or 6 seconds, and it made me feel a little better.
Yeah, as it should, as it should. All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations on the win tonight. Before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 13 car?
I do want to thank my entire team at Jordan Anderson Racing, Trent Curtis Racing. I know it's overstated a lot about teammates and everything. I mean, once again, Mike McConnell's best setup man in the business. Plain and simple. He's the reason all of our cars are up front every week. Even if it's not me, it's Mike. If it's not Mike, it's Ethan. If it's not Ethan, it's Nick. If it's not Nick, it's Brockton. If it's not Brockton, it's Dennis. And if it's not Dennis, we bring in a NASCAR Cup Busch Series driver to come run our cars. And they help me keep my head. I tend to lose my own mind pretty quickly. You can ask them. I let things get to my head. They kept me calm, cool, collected. Thank parents for everything they've helped me through here. Obviously, I want to thank all of Jordan Anderson's partners: Bomberito Autosport, Easy Care, FVP, Funkaway. I think there's a Golden Corral on board in this thing. And Chevrolet. I got Cadillac dealership on the hood, but Chevrolet for their support of Jordan Anderson Racing and being one of the best dominant manufacturers in NASCAR. And I want to thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Not a lot of leagues are broadcast. It's neat to be a part of a league that is. So I want to thank you for all your efforts you put in, Dave.
All right, man. Well, listen, I appreciate the kind words. I know that, you basically highlighted everything. And the bottom line is it sure seems like teamwork makes the dream work here at the Jordan Anderson and, of course, Trent Curtis Racing stable. So congratulations, my man, and maybe we'll see you next week.
Yeah, I love oddball ovals, and I was kind of an oddball oval, so you might see the old 13 out there.
All right, my man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That, of course, your race winner, Trent Curtis out of the JAR TCR stable. Next up here on the podium is our neighbor from the north, Gabriel Lafreniere. Gabriel, it's Dave. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, buddy, listen, you were still, you were 20 seconds behind Trent Curtis at the end. You didn't have enough for him. What do you feel at the end of this race when you realize that he just blew the doors off of everybody tonight?
Just tried to crash the car and spin. Try my best to stay in front of Tane Oudsen. And finish the race.
Yeah, I mean, finishing the race is basically, the biggest thing at a place like this. I mean, everybody talks about, having to make sure that they get to where they have to be. And I mean, you still managed to come home in second position in the 06. Obviously, you were running on some Oxenmore tonight. What could you have done to try to finish a little bit closer to Curtis?
Little problem with the rear of the car. Lot of spin at low corner. So it's the thing that I could do better, but the start of the stage I can fight Trent, but not enough to pass him. So try to finish second. It's the best I could do.
All right, man. Well, listen, before we cut you loose tonight, who helps you get it done in the 06, and who do you need to shout out tonight?
Thanks to you, the broadcast, the league. My teammate did a great job tonight. Not easy to race. All the driver did a good job. And my sponsor, Oxbar.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, before I cut you loose, I've got just one little word for you here. And, of course, it comes courtesy of Apple Translate. And we will see you next week. So congratulations.
Thanks, Dave. Good night.
As we move further on down here on the podium, we want to thank Gabriel Lafreniere for his time. And, of course, last but certainly not least, Tane Hodison, driver the number 93 out of Brunswick, Maine. Hey, Tane, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got me?
I do.
Well, man, listen, it was a hard-fought battle tonight. You were trying to close in on Lafreniere, and you were still trying to hold off Minto from behind. But it just seemed like nobody had anything for Curtis. What could have made your night better here on the racetrack?
I'm not sure there could have been much more that made my race better. Tires were a huge, or they were wearing very quickly. I wore the rear tires very quickly, and I couldn't get the power down compared to some of these guys. So I was struggling in the first stint, and then I pitted and didn't take fuel on the first stage because I didn't want the extra weight in the back, and I wanted the rear tires to have more life, and it worked a little bit. But I had to pit early for the second stage. I had to pit before it. So I had like 8 lap older tires than everybody going into the last stage, and it was just completely undrivable towards the end, and that's like the most I've ever worked on iRacing to keep a car in the race, let alone on the podium. So, but it was fun.
Yeah, a lot of work goes into these road courses because the car has to be balanced so much differently, than on a traditional oval in these stock cars. So I know that you put a lot of work into it, and sometimes the blood, sweat, and tears just isn't enough to get you across the line first. But you still finished with a podium tonight here in third position. Before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank? Who helps you get it done on the 93, and who gets a shout-out?
Team owner Noah Hamilton. He wasn't here tonight, but he was in the VC, and he helped us out with the setups. And then Diego Rodriguez, who's another teammate, but he wasn't driving tonight. He decided to spot for me for the first half of the race, so big shout-out to them for helping out, because there are a lot of big sends in the first half of the race, so Diego really helped me out with those.
All right, my man. Well, listen, congratulations on the P3 finish tonight. We'll see you next week when we get back to the oval racing, so we look forward to that, and we will see you then.
Thank you. Good night.
Well, folks, another one in the books here, as we always say at the end of a race, and it could not be more of an exciting finish to this piece. I mean, yeah, sure, Trent Curtis finishes 19 and a half seconds ahead of Gabriel Lafreniere, and, of course, 26 seconds ahead of Tane Hodison, but Trent Curtis still comes home with the checkered flag, joined on the podium by Gabriel Lafreniere and Tane Hodison. Brandon Minto comes home in fourth, while Dennis Mickelson rounds out your top 5. Brockton Packard comes home in 6th, with 7th position going to Sam Bolin. Sylvain Joly and Chad Sander come home 8th and 9th, while Zachary Vaughn rounds out the top 10. Zach Osborne finishes in 11th, with 12th going to Nick Hansen. 13th goes to Ethan Ball, with John Wilco in 14th. Chris Custer goes home in 15th, while 16th belongs to Claude Furland. Alexander Gangler, driver of the number 8 out of Big Rock, Illinois, finishes in 17th position tonight, as he gave it all he had but couldn't get it across the line any better, with 18th going to John Bawalda out of Bel Air, Maryland. Casey Bristow finishes in his debut in 19th position, and rounding out your top 20 is Will Young. Anthony Savignano comes home in 21st, with Aaron Mack coming home in 22nd. 23rd goes to Daniel Moynihan, with Randall Watkins, Dan Morgan, Eugenio Alonso, Kavaja Holt, Tony Burt, Mike McConville, and Richard Pruitt making up the rest of your top 30. Michael Wick comes home in 31st, with Ron Fitting in 32nd. Keith Black, Andrew Deemer, Brad Gunn, Steve Herring, and Logan Giesbrecht make up the rest of the field that took the green flag tonight. Just 2 laps in for Logan Giesbrecht and 5 apiece for Brad Gunn and Steve Herring. Somebody had to do it, and unfortunately it was them tonight, as 37 drivers filled the field tonight, which is just something incredible for a road course on the iRacing.com iRacing.com servers. And, that's something that they pride themselves in here at the Sunday Night NASCAR Family of Racing Series. So, of course, the trucks are out tomorrow night. They'll be off the next couple of weeks, so we'll have to take a little sabbatical there. But make sure to tune in on Thursday night with me and, of course, my work mistress, Shane Lake, as we bring you opening night in the Racers Elite Next Gen Cup Series, a fixed league, on Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. right here on Sim Racing Media. And for myself, Dave Regal, and everybody else here at Sim Racing Media, we want to thank you for making us a part of your evening. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes, onto your phones, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. And tomorrow, as you walk down the road of life, please don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.